Hey, everybody. Thanks for stopping by for another episode of The Backbeat. Today, I have my friend Adam Rhodes, AR drummer, with me. Adam, how's it going, man?
Going good. I'm a little tired. I've been working on my daughter's room, pulling up carpet and stuff. So if I look tired, that's why.
That's that's a lot. That's a lot of work. And we'll start. Let's start there. You are a big DIYer. I know you've done a lot of work in your home stuff, but with your drums and cymbals too. Um,
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that. Like what? Because I know you accumulate stuff and you'll fix it up and sell it and or keep it and play it. What got you into doing that?
Being cheap probably is the main thing. Now when I first started playing drums, I bought my first drum set was a Pearl Export series, which everybody has that same story, but it came with all the cymbals and everything, and it was new. But then as I got older, I figured out about Guitar Center used, and I don't want to give everybody my secret, but they have some awesome deals on there for their used gear. And I started looking at eBay and Reverb and buying used equipment. So when you do that, you don't know what you're getting half the time. It can say in fair condition and be really nice, or it can be like horrible condition and you get like a cracked cymbal or a drum that's missing parts or whatever. So if I got something cheap enough, I would just keep it and I'd be like, I can fix this myself. So I would do that on some projects, and that's kind of what got me into with cymbal repairs. I got like a Meinl Classics Custom, like a 19-inch crash, and it sounded good, but there was like two cracks. So I was like, I got it for $40, so I'm like, I'll just keep this. So I cut out the edges and did like the to get the cracks gone. And so that kind of stuff's got what got me into rehabbing drums, and it's just fun anyway to see the end product and rewrapping drums and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have actually the cymbals that I won. You had done a giveaway on your channel. If I'm not mistaken, it's a set of hi-hats, and if I'm not mistaken, like you hand hammered them and maybe did
Yeah,
some lathing as well, right?
yeah, yeah. Some light lathing. My lathing setup is really primitive. It's probably pretty dangerous too, actually. So I don't do it that much because I use a drill and a vise. And yeah, don't take my advice, children's at home. Don't do it. But it can be a little dangerous. So I don't really. I'd love to have a good lathe that I could take a bunch of weight off, because I prefer thin cymbals anyway.
Okay.
But yeah, those cymbals that you have, I hammered them, then I or lathed them, hammered them, and then I think I actually buried those possibly. So you
I
got some
think
of the
that's
buried
right.
cymbals, because it kind of has a weird finish on it, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's kind of, let me grab one. They're right here. Come on.
Yeah,
So yeah, they kind of
yeah,
look weathered. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, those were in some dirt in my backyard. So
And I love them. I mean, I know you commented on it the other day. Like I'll rotate them out with my Zildjian quick beats.
yeah, yeah, it's cool to see you use them. I'm glad you got them, and I had fun making them. And I haven't buried any cymbals in a while, but so those might have been some of the last ones.
Cool. Well, that's awesome. So what got you into playing the drums?
Um, Probably I would have to say when I was in band, I did snare drum because I didn't want to play anything else, and drum seemed like the coolest thing if you're going to be in band, play a snare drum. So I played, like in marching band and did that kind of stuff. And then they had a pep band, and I was like, oh man, there's a drum set. And I don't know any kid that doesn't want to go hit on the drums, regardless if they stick with it or not. It's just like, I want to play those. So I played at the pep band at one of the games, the Hey song, and I mean, I didn't know what I was doing at all, so I couldn't hardly even do the bass drum. Like dun, 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 dun. So like my bass drum, I probably didn't even play it because I didn't know what I was doing. But that kind of sparked my interest, and I really think that that's why I play a right-handed drum set, even though I'm left-handed, because
Okay.
that's how that drum set was set up. And I was like, okay, I can do this way. And then playing at churches and stuff, coming behind, there's a left-handed drummer that at one church I went to, you're like, oh no, it's that guy. I got to follow him. I got to move all the drums, because it was a left-handed drummer. So it's a lot easier just to go to a setup and play it the way everybody else does. And I noticed my playing is probably a little different because I lead with my left hand. And so my fills, sometimes it's like, I think I'm having to work harder to get fills, but that's just the way it is now. I can't really go back and try to learn the other way. But I
That's
don't even know what
cool.
your I don't even know what your original question was. How I got into drums.
How'd you get? Yeah, what got you into playing drums?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I watched this. My mom worked at the library, and they had this video like drum basics. David Eagle, and he wasn't like a real famous drummer or anything, but he was really charismatic, and this video kind of got me inspired and seeing the stuff he did. And so that video kind of helped me a little bit. And then just playing to like Petra. I think Wake Up Call was probably the album that came out right around when I started wanting to play. So I'd put the headphones on, play along to Louis Weaver, and just go at it. And that's, that's so much more fun to me. I never had a drum lesson, and I respect people that know all the technical terms and know how the vocabulary of all the different rudiments, and all that stuff's helpful. But I just love playing along to the songs I heard. So that's how I learned. I've never had a lesson or anything like that. But
That's cool. I did that a lot. I had a like 100-watt amplifier like in the basement, and I would just put like ear protection on and put my Petra cassette or my Whiteheart cassette
yeah,
in, and I would just drum along with it. I did that so much. So that's cool.
yeah,
Who were some of your favorite drummers? I imagine it's kind of more like my story based on some of the music that I know we share similar
yeah,
interests in.
yeah. Well, going back to using an amp, I had headphones on. So my family and my parents, that are the best people in the world, they put up with listening to my horrible drumming with no reference of music or anything. So that had to be bad, especially early on. But
I love it.
let's see. Inspirational drummers, Louis Weaver, because Petra, they were, I grew up listening to my brothers are older. I've got two older brothers, and they listened to Petra, DeGarmo and Key.
Yeah.
Competition, DeGarmo and Key.
Yep.
The drum part on that, that catches about anybody's ear. So that was probably is that Gary, what's his name? Something Morrow. You were talking to Earl about it.
Greg Morrow.
Greg
Yeah.
Morrow. And he was a great drummer. Whiteheart drummer, Ted Kirkpatrick from Tourniquet,
Yeah.
which he recently passed away, which I was really sad to hear.
I heard
But
that. Yeah, that's so sad. And Michael Bloodgood
yeah,
recently
a bunch of
passed.
people all at one time. It's kind of weird. But yeah, those are the main drummers. Of course, there's endless number of drummers that I could probably name off, but early on, those were the main ones.
Sweet. My mom had bought me like a VHS tape of Louis Weaver. And it was kind of a lesson, and it was kind of informative, but he like toured the DW factory, and
Oh,
but one thing that he said that has always stuck with me, I was sharing this with Loretta the other day. He said, if I find that I'm struggling with the tempo, like I'm pushing or I'm pulling, I start focusing on my breathing and just paying attention to taking clean, deep breaths. And that
yeah,
kind of lands me in the groove.
that's
I was
good
like,
advice.
that's pretty cool. So I do that like for years. Like if I because I do have a tendency to push. Like
Yeah.
I'll be like, just really focus on taking that breath in and feeling it and
Yeah.
stuff. But yeah, Louis was amazing.
Did he have the Mickey Mouse shirt on in the
Yes, he
video?
did.
Of course he did.
And I think, what album was that around? I think it was around the Beyond Belief album.
Oh, okay.
So that was
Yeah.
going back, I think, like definitely before Wake Up Call. I think it might have been
That,
one or two albums before.
that's probably like 1990 or somewhere around there.
That feels right.
Yeah.
Back when I was a wee lad.
But see, that's what Petra. I tried to collect all their CDs. Like I go to the Christian bookstore, and if you know anything about back in the day, Christian bookstore, you're gonna buy a CD, it's gonna be like 17, 18 bucks. But they had to special order them, so I went through, their first ones, and got all the, More Power to You, Not of
Yeah.
This World, Beat the System, like all of them, even going back farther. So I collected all of Petra's catalog, which is a pretty big catalog. But
It is very extensive.
yes,
I think their first album was, I want to say, 1974.
yeah, something like that. It
So I mean,
was,
it goes way back.
yeah.
Yeah. That's
And then
pretty awesome.
I think Greg Volts started with them maybe in the late 70s or something. I think it was when it was when he
I think it
started.
was around like where like there's gonna be like Earl and Matthew Jackson, who are like, I know what the albums and the people that they're talking about.
Everybody else gonna be like, "What in the world are they talking about? Who are these people?"
They're smart about whatever they're talking about, but
Yeah, I don't know who it is.
yeah, I think it was around. I want to say it was around. I digress, but like it was around like Never Say Die in that era that Volt
Yeah,
started singing. Then he sang with him through like the Beat the System, the Captured in Time and Space live album, I think.
yeah, I
And
think
then
Wash is Wider Than may have been the first one he's on, but like you said,
okay,
somebody else will know, but I'm not sure.
yeah, let us know. Let us know because I'm honestly not sure. But Beat the System was the first album that somebody played for me by Petra, and I was like, ooh, very cool.
Yeah, I was listening to it the other day and like, man, those are definitely electronic drums.
Yes. Oh yes. No doubt. I want to I think I've got Adonai on there to cover from that album, and I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
it's obviously not gonna sound anything like that because obviously electric drums, but
Yeah, that's the cool thing about X stems or whatever. It's just X tracks. I know it's changed the drumming for everybody for covers because I mean, I'm not a perfect drummer. Nobody really is, but like I have a tendency to overplay sometimes. But like when you have the other drums behind you, it just, when it sounds muddy and it's neat to be able to take those out. Now, do you ever
yeah.
drum to without the drums or do you do it to the original track?
Yeah, I'll take the drums out. I started using extract stems and I've been playing around with Moises. Um, and so, but regardless, it's kind of the same
Yeah.
general idea, right? So I'll pull them down to like they're just faintly in the background, so I don't lose some of the bass and kind of the low end stuff.
Yeah.
And then by the time I put my drums in, in mix it out, it kind of like they disappear. So it kind of gives me the
Yeah.
freedom to like color it kind of the way that I want to color it in a moment. Is
So
that what
like
is that what you do?
when you're playing along to it though, you don't have the drums in,
Right.
or you
Yeah.
do? Okay.
Correct.
See,
So it's just
I leave them in for reference, but I'm kind of thinking it would be kind of neat to take them out and just see how that works.
it's fun. Yeah.
Because it's distracting sometimes when I'm playing something and it's different than what the original drummer played, and it almost like messes your head, and you're like, oh, well, did that sound right or not? And then of course, if you get in your head, other mistakes are going to happen. But yeah, I might try taking them out and covering a song that way.
It's all no. I know some guys that are more comfortable laying it down with the track and
Yeah,
then taking their drum audio and putting it in with the drumless track.
yeah, that's how.
It's I just once I discovered drumless tracks, well, I found them on YouTube and I was like, oh my gosh. But then when I found extract stems, I was like, well, actually, Daddy Drums, David Pena, he told me about it. And so that's how I started doing that. I'm like, oh my gosh, the sky's the limit.
Yeah.
Shy of
Now,
being
certain
blocked.
it seems like some of that, I'm not saying all of it, but there's some 80s rock for some reason. There's certain genres and just the drum sounds that they don't really want to come out. And it's like that snare drum hits no matter what. So, I mean, I'm sure there's some
Yeah.
tweaking, but, it's really simple, which is what's so cool about it. But, like some tracks don't work as good as others, at least in my experience.
Yeah, but for the most part, like you're not limited to just what other people are making and uploading to YouTube to use. You
Yeah.
can like because I think you and I do a similar thing where we play songs we want to play, like
Yeah.
that we like and enjoy,
Yeah. That's for sure.
and it gives us that doing that gives us that extracts gives us that freedom to
That,
do.
and that definitely doesn't help my channel growth playing what I like to listen to because it's not what the majority of people listen to. So, but I do what I want and I help people enjoy it. And, some songs, I like to do songs that, have a good message and hopefully that comes across and people hear the
Yeah,
lyrics and get inspired by them, more so than my drumming or anything.
yeah,
But, that's because like you could be strategic and look at the next popular song coming out and do a
yeah.
cover of that. And yeah, you could probably get more views of it. But if you're not really into the song, it's kind of seems a little weird,
But you've got a lot of stuff going for your channel, like because you're not just doing the drum covers. So in terms of music, you're also doing your DIY projects. Um, there was one you built on a is it was it an aluminum kit?
yeah. Yeah, the guy, I had a guy in Canada that did the shells, but yeah, I had to do all the hardware, drilling the holes and getting like I got the bare shells, which he did maple re-rings, which was pretty cool. But I was like, I want to do one custom set that you can't get anywhere else. And I've got the configuration and sizes is pretty cool because I like really uh short toms or whatever because I have some deeper toms too, but I wanted some that are shallow. But yeah, I had to drill all the holes, which that is, I know you're getting to be a pro at now, but starting out, just even lining up your holes
Yeah,
and and getting the right, you gotta go from the bearing edge, you gotta be the exact same around the whole. It's just, yeah. So there's some holes that if you took the lug off, you're like, man, this guy crapped this up. But because the lugs are there, you can't see that the hole, is kind of bigger because I had to move it over a little bit. But yeah, I'm really happy with that drum set. That's one that, nobody else has one like that. And I thought that was pretty cool. And the
Yeah,
price was actually pretty reasonable. I did a
nice.
video on it, but I bought like a donor kit, just a used PDP, like a low end one. But it was cheaper to do that and get all the hardware and take it off of it and not even use the shells. Then if you start, I know this, you start buying lugs. Each lug is like, you start adding up really fast.
Yeah, it can get pricey depending on what kind of legs you want to put on there, and
Yeah,
for sure, so you're talking about like, oh, this hole's a little bigger. If I like took all the hardware and heads off of the very first build that I did,
yeah,
I mean, it's definitely got some cosmetic issues. I didn't know anything at the time, right? So like that was a crash course in learning, but it sounds great. I
yeah,
mean, it's functional. I wouldn't sell that one,
yeah.
for a couple of
That's,
reasons, but
and like most of my stuff, if I work on them, a lot of times I'll just keep it because it's either in bad shape already and there's issues that I don't really care because how it sounds or whatever. But yeah, for you, you have more incentive to do it right, and I'm just like, sometimes good enough is good enough for me.
well, and if you're building it for yourself and you kind of make an error and you can correct that, typically the only place that's visually noticeable is on the interior anyway.
Yeah,
Because the hardware covers all
if
that
you,
work up.
you coated heads and then you're good to go.
Yeah, that's right. Nobody gets to see inside the
Yeah,
inner workings of the
well,
drum. That's
let's
awesome.
keep
Well,
that a secret.
we'll edit this out. No, um, one of my of course, I like all the kits that you play in your videos. I really enjoy the way you tune them and stuff. But one of the most, I think, interesting, I guess, kits is your marching drum kit because it's got a marching kick, a marching snare, and a tom, I think, too, right?
Yes, yeah, that was it's behind me here, but yeah, that was a big project for me. Well, what happened was I bought two bass drums from a music store that was going out of business in a local town, and I saw it on Facebook, and it was like $50 each or 25, whatever it was. I'm like, these are Ludwig. One's a 24 by 18, 24 by 14. Sorry, let's edit that out. It was a 28 by 14, and then the other one's a 28 by 12, which is, for a marching bass drum, that makes sense. It's not very deep. But the one on the kit you're talking about is the 14-inch depth one. So I got those pretty cheap. And then, of course, I had to add legs to them to make it, work with a bass drum pedal and where it sits correctly. And then the rack tom is a Revere marching drum. It's like a 10 by 14, but it's single tension, which, doesn't give you a whole lot of options, but I've worked on it. And it's taken a lot of work to get the sound like I want. But that one was actually like a movie prop or something. I got it on eBay and it was in some
Okay.
movie. And I'm not sure if it was a big movie or not. I did look it up and it was, I think it was in theaters. It wasn't anything I'd heard of. So that was kind of cool as a prop. But and then my floor tom is a Slingerland 15 by 12 marching snare. So I just added floor tom legs to it and painted all the hoops black and then
Nice.
just off gray with chalk paint's what I painted the drum set with. But
Very
yeah,
cool.
it's pretty fun. It's a big gap between my two toms and that bass drum. I mean, there's a lot of air to push with that with the pedal, but I've gotten used to it. You got to get your beater as high as you possibly can on that pedal to even halfway reach like the middle point of that bass drum because it's so
It's
big.
ginormous. Yeah.
But it's fun. I like to come over and play it. Now, if I was going to play out, I wouldn't take it. It's just not as practical. But yeah, it's pretty fun.
Gotcha. And I love, and I mentioned it, but I love your tuning too. And I know we've talked about it like off, like, on the social medias and whatnot. Like, um, but you tune them very specifically. And I love the sound you get because you get tone, but there's not a lot of, there's not too much sustain, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's
Now,
got a great tone.
when I first started drumming, you would have been the opposite. Well, you'd say there's not sustain. There wasn't any sustain. It's like I had ebony pinstripes on the top and bottom, which are going to kill the sound anyway.
Oh
And
yeah.
then use the Remo rings, and like they just sounded like. I mean, you didn't even have any tone at all. But that was just me at the beginning, not knowing what in the world I was doing. But yeah, over the years, I've I think I've got a pretty good grasp of making a drum sound good because the longer you're a drummer, you can take a crappy drum set, put good heads on it. But if you have good heads and don't know how to tune a drum, it's still not going to sound good. So, the tuning is, basically what I do is I get it to where it's the head is not just right above being so loose that when you hit it, it just doesn't do anything. And then bringing it up a little past that and then go from there. But yeah, I've never done really high tunings because I like the lower thud, I guess, from it.
Yeah.
But yeah,
So what do you do? So is that your top head you do that with?
yeah, I start off with both of them that way,
Okay.
and then I'll just go from there. The top head a little tighter than the resonant, but yeah, like I like to keep them pretty close to where they're. If they were tuned down much lower, you would just get that thud. But I'm not a jazz player, so none of my tunings are up high. I've never done that, but
Right, but they sound so good. I think it's a premier kit you've got where you've got the three toms up top and the floor tom. And I just every time you come do a fill across that whole kit, it's just I'm like that is so perfect. I love the tone that you're getting out of them.
that's cool. Yeah, I honestly don't know which kit it is because I've so many. I've gotten lazy about not switching them out because I like to switch it up and play. I got to reset my mics, which isn't that big a setup. But this drum room, I've got drums all over the place, and I'm like, okay, do I want to leave this one? I really like this kit. Do I want to leave it, or do I want to switch it out for something else? So maybe in the future covers, I'll switch it out again and use something else. But it's fun to have that problem.
Yeah, yeah, that's a very good problem to have.
Yes,
And
it is.
and you've got quite the snare drum collection as well. Now are those like just I mean obviously accumulated them over the years? Are any of them your I bought this cheap and I found some hardware I liked?
Oh, a lot of them, yeah, and a lot of them I've just obscure drums that I've never even heard of sometimes, and they'll be pretty cheap. But then like the throw off of like a vintage drum won't be correct, and then like somebody's modified it and kind of messed it up, and but I can still get a good sound out of it, and it's unique. But that's kind of like you're saying, it's different keeping it for myself. Then if I try to sell on eBay, people will be like, well, that's not the correct throw
Right.
off, and it's not this, and of course the price would reflect that. But yeah, I like to collect stuff that you not just see every day, I guess. And
That's awesome.
sometimes you can get a good deal on it because nobody else is looking for it.
Yeah.
But
No,
but yeah,
absolutely.
when we were setting up this video, I had it turned around so everybody could see my snare drums, but my glasses, stinking glasses, were reflecting the light. So now you just get these guitars back here that I don't hardly ever play. But
Do you play them at all? Like are you a guitar player also?
I don't you would go that far to say a guitar player. I can play some stuff. I never learned to full chords. I liked heavy music and just tuning down to D or B or whatever and just chugging it and doing the rhythmic stuff is what I enjoy. I actually did a CD where I wrote all the music and played all the instruments. And I even sang on one of them, but I'm not letting anybody hear that one.
That one's in the vault.
That's in the vault. Never, I'll be like Disney, but it's never coming out of the vault though.
I love it though. That's fantastic. That's cool though that you did that. I'd be like laying down the drums and be like, okay, who's up? Who's up for making some music?
Yeah. Yeah, but it
That's
was fun. So I mean, I can play some guitar, but I don't know the chords and like full chords and all that stuff, which I would love to be able to just get an acoustic. My wife is an awesome singer and sings at church, and I'd love to just be able to sit there on acoustic with her and play any song, but I just never had I guess, not the willpower, but I focused on the drums and those chords. I mean, your fingers are like, I'm like, nope, I can't do it.
I get it. I've got real small, like short hands. So like trying to even just noodle with a friend's guitar, I'm like, how would you
Yeah.
even
Well,
begin to
it's just like,
destroy?
let's make this one have to go way back here and then turn this finger. It's like, man, I'm not worried about it that much. So
I totally get it. So what you were one of the earlier people on YouTube that I found, and we started connecting. Um, what led you to starting a YouTube channel?
that's a good question because I don't really remember, something specific. I think, everybody early on, I guess, Casey Cooper was one of the big drummers that was at the beginning of it all. And like Cobus and or however you say his name. Is it Cubus? Cobus?
I'm afraid to even take a stab
Yeah.
at it. I know I for a long time I said Cobus because of the spelling, and
Yep.
then somebody else corrected me, and then he said his name in the video, but I don't.
I don't
It did.
remember how he said
It
it,
didn't stick. So yeah,
but
but I
I
know
think
who
I
you're
uploaded.
talking about.
Yeah, I think I uploaded like just a horrible cover with my electronic drums because when we moved to this one house, we didn't have any room for like all the drums. So I only had one kit, and was in a closet. And I'm like, I'll just buy a cheap electronic set, which it was bad. I used like plastic plates for my cymbals and put triggers on them because I
Oh,
was like, I don't want to buy an expensive one. But anyway, I did that, uploaded video, and it sounded horrible because you're hearing a lot of the pads hitting and stuff. It was bad. But yeah, I didn't really upload much stuff until I guess I got the drum room, and then I was like, had more room to do stuff, and then bought a camera, and I try to my videos don't sound as good as a lot of drummers because I have small setup with my mics, but I feel like I'm getting a good sound for what I'm using because I'm only using the Zoom Q8 and then a kick drum mic, one mic on the left and one mic on the right to get everything. I'm angling at my toms so the cymbals don't get too loud, but just having a bigger room, and I've tried to improve as I go, but of course I'd like to do some other things, but money and time and everything else kind of plays a role in that. But
the two
so yeah,
major factors. Yeah.
so I mean, I don't really know anything specific why I started doing them, but I mean, I just enjoyed playing the drums, and it gives me an excuse to play songs I like and
Yeah.
get to drum to them. So
So now, so we've talked about your DIY videos and your drum cover videos and stuff, but you do some other types of videos too. Tell me a little bit about those.
yeah, I do ride dirt bike. I ride a dirt bike, and my family goes out for trail rides, and the girls on four wheelers, and my wife actually got a little pit bike too that she's riding, which is awesome to have her go out with us and ride. But yeah, I mean those videos. I'm sure some of my subscribers are like, "Why is he uploading these dirt bike videos?" But it's almost like just for my memories as well, because it's just fun times with my parents, and then my wife and kids and nephew and brothers and whoever's riding. So it's like, YouTube, unless they delete all my content, which, could happen at some point, it's just neat to be able to go back and watch stuff. And like with my kids, just seeing how little they were in some videos, because I had them dancing in like a couple drum covers. And one was like when the youngest was like 3, or my middle daughter was 3 at the time. And then now in another video, she's like 7 or something. It's just like to see the difference and be able to look back at them. So that's kind of why I do those, and it's just fun. But and then now like these shorts videos, have you been getting into that a little bit?
I've been trying to, yeah.
It's hard for me to at first because I'm like, this is just not what I'm used to. I'm used to uploading a regular video, but it feels like that's the way it's going. You kind of got to incorporate some of those. So if you've seen my last few shorts are cat videos and whatever else, just because I'm like, that cat's pretty funny. I'll put a video on it. And the crazy thing about this, it was kind of like a test I was going to do. I put 2 videos of our cat doing something funny. And then I did a video I actually put on Instagram, but I put it on as a short on YouTube. And the cat video has like 13,000 views now. And that's like 2 or 3 days ago. The drum video, I believe, is maybe up to 28 views. So that kind of tells you what people are. I don't know if it's YouTube. I guess there's a lot more people that like cats than like drummers, but it's kind of like it was kind of an experiment to put those videos on there and see just the difference. What kind of
Yeah.
viewers I would get, but which I mean I don't know how much of it's what people search. You just swipe down and you're getting totally different videos. So I'm not really sure how all that works, but I guess what I'm thinking is I may do like a drum rhythm, just something fun. I guess it's kind of what Instagram. I'm old. I'm 40, so I'm not all hip on these all these social medias. But
I
I
have to
guess
work. I have to work to even understand what's happening because
yeah,
I'm a bit above you and quite a bit above you. But like, so I'm like, I call my daughter. Hey, when I started TikTok for the Attic Custom Drums, I was like, she came to visit. I was like, how do I do this? How do I use TikTok?
yeah. Yeah, but I mean, I know it's the way it's going because people don't. The attention span's not as long, and it's just easier to go through and swipe and stuff, and you can see a bunch of different stuff that way. But I guess I'm gonna try to do just little short drum videos and incorporate that. But it's still not my. It's never gonna be where my passion is for doing like drum covers, full drum covers, and that. But
Same.
that's the way it's going. I know they got to compete with these other social medias, so I understand why they're doing it, but it's
Yeah.
new to me. So
Yeah, I've talked with a couple people about it, and everybody's experience seems to have been it's kind of hit or miss in terms of like I did just a yeah, wow, cut that out as I have a stroke. Um, did a few like cymbal demo shorts, and I just scheduled them
yeah,
through this week. And so like I've had one that I did of like I've been trying to use them to advertise like for the next cover because that's my passion too.
yeah.
And like one of them got like 64 views, another one got 600, and then I got almost 2,000 on one of the cymbal demos. So like it's like
That those kind of numbers on our covers, that's like that would be amazing to get that kind of numbers, on a cover for me
oh
at least on my
yeah.
channel that quick. But
Yeah, and it's like, yeah, how what of now I have noticed since I've been kind of doing it for a couple weeks, I noticed a larger subscriber bump like in the last couple weeks,
really,
which is cool.
well, one
Um
of the cat videos I gained 13 subscribers. I don't know if I better put some more cat videos so they don't unsubscribe. But I thought that was hilarious. It was 13.
they're like, I thought this was the cat video guy. What are all these drum videos?
You think? Well, I guess they might not see my username or not, whatever. But thank you if you're out there watching this video. Thanks for subscribing. I'll add some more cat videos.
That's right. Drums, dirt bikes, and cat
Cat.
videos.
That's pretty much. I need to change my name to something like that, but that'd be a long name.
Hitting a broad audience.
Yeah. But I mean, I'm sure, some people, when I think about like, okay, I've uploaded a dirt bike video, I probably need to upload a couple more drum covers before I upload another one. But then I'm like, whatever. If somebody doesn't want to watch it, they can just not watch that video and go to something else. I don't think people are
Yeah.
going to unsubscribe. If they do, I'm sorry to see them go, but it comes down to it's our channels. I
Yeah.
do it. I do it for other people because, like I said, I want the messages of the songs to reach people. But it comes down to it. These are our channels, and ultimately we're going to do what we want with them, which is what's so awesome about YouTube. Is like you don't have to pay for it. You can do whatever you want. And it took me a long time to get where I'm at with my subscriber count, but I still don't know how little views I get from my drum videos as opposed to how many subscribers I have. So apparently everybody subscribes but doesn't ever watch my videos, but
But
that's
then
fine.
but I think that's a cross platform thing, and then sometimes you'll post a video that just hits at the right time, and
Yeah,
whatever, and you'll be like, oh. And other times, yeah, it's like it languishes, and it has
yeah,
50 views over a period of a week. No, I understand. And even other channels with subscriberships, as large as yours, I've seen that too. They'll have some videos that like boom, they'll get 800 views,
yeah.
and then others that still kind of float in the 200 range.
Yeah, and I,
So
I noticed a lot even within Christian music, like doing a song that just came out in Christian music will still get you a lot more than just some older song because I guess people are searching for that song and then it comes up. So I have done that on songs that I like. It's not just trying to get subscribers, but if I try to get it as soon as a song comes out and just play something and have fun with it, and that definitely gets you more views because
yeah,
it's new and people are just now. And the best thing you can do is whenever you end up showing up on the search, if it's not a big band and you're like the second or third video when you just type in the song, that's pretty fun.
yeah, that's
That,
that's
that
super cool.
doesn't happen very often, but if it's kind of more of an obscure band, sometimes that will. And I've had people from the bands comment on my covers, which was really cool. It's
Nice.
happened a few times, but they're not huge bands, but it's still neat to hear from the original drummers saying, "Oh, it's cool what you're doing here."
Yeah, that's awesome. That's
Yeah,
super cool. And I probably like when I do like a CCM cover, it's probably like from the 80s or 90s. And so
yeah.
I'd have to go back and look at the numbers, but they're probably my least watched videos because I think like there's less people that are like, oh,
But,
cool,
but I
White
bet you
Cross.
had some of the most fun on those too,
But I did. I
though.
loved it because I
Yeah,
was revisiting something that was influential
yeah,
to me, and I'll pepper them in throughout, but then we've kind of labeled March as like CCM month. And so I'll like pick a bunch of songs and then go, here, Loretta, which ones do you like best in these slots, and then
yeah.
it is fun.
You guys are so organized. Like I'm not like that at all. I'm like, I guess I'll do this song, and I'll go in there and do, play it a few times and just go with it. And sometimes my wife will hear a song, she'll be like, "This would be a cool song to cover." So if she's gonna suggest it, I'm like, okay, I got to do it. But
Yeah.
yeah, I admire how organized you are.
Oh,
With
thanks, man.
setting up your interviews, setting up your covers, just and your whole channel. You've got a lot of really cool stuff going. Like I've enjoyed watching all your interviews because they're drummers I see, and commenting on a video is different. And there's a lot of awesome guys that you know and girls that do covers, and I'll comment on their video, they comment on mine. But hearing somebody talk about their life and just learning more about them is really cool, and I think you've done a awesome job with all your interviews because they've
Oh,
all
thanks.
been enjoyable to listen to. And you get to know the drummers. It kind of makes you have a different connection to that drummer because you know more of their backstory. And it's been pretty cool.
Yeah, I
But
love
going back
that.
to the dirt biking, I probably need to scale back on it or be more careful. One of the videos uploaded, I went to St. Joe State Park, and at the beginning, I came off my bike and came down and hit the handlebars on my
Ooh.
shoulder on my handlebars, and my shoulder still it tore something, and it's like a slap tear,
Oh
and
no.
I was all messed up. So I don't know. You probably don't notice it in my videos, but I'm finally getting back to where I have better motion. But like, there's a couple covers where people are probably like, okay, this dude is usually very active on his fills, and there's not many fills in that one because coming across this way,
Mm.
I couldn't hardly do it. But yeah, I felt real stupid. It was a dumb accident that shouldn't happen. But it's like, that's all it takes is one little misstep. And so yeah, I'm gonna be riding a little safer from now on. But yeah, not that you
Gotcha.
need to know that, but yeah, my shoulder, that's kind of, it did affect my drumming a little bit. And I play at church every week. And like, I just didn't do as much stuff because I could keep it there. My left hand, I
Yeah.
could keep there right on the snare, but doing my fills, I couldn't really reach over there because it just hurt. But
Gosh.
it's getting better though. So
Well, good. I'm glad it's getting better. I know, like, I had an issue with, I think it was my left arm, and I lost some strength in it. Like there was a pinched nerve or something,
yeah.
and so I couldn't do like even like fast single stroke stuff. So I was holding in a couple of videos that are coming out. You'll probably see it. I'm
Yeah.
gripping the stick between my fingers because
Mm,
those, for whatever reason, it was like this muscle right in here that was the issue. So I couldn't grip,
yeah.
it scared me. I was like,
Yeah.
what do I do if I don't play drums? And
Uh,
but go, you were talking about playing in church, so I'll bring this up too, and then I want to talk about playing in church. I was playing one Sunday at church, and I felt like the question that God was asking me was, if the drumming and everything was gone tomorrow, am I still enough?
yeah.
And that was a hard question for me. And I've grown up in church, and one who tries to walk it to the best of my ability and my knowledge with Jesus. And I was like, yeah, but the drums, you
Yeah.
know,
I mean,
it's
it's one of those easy things that people that they're like, you need to be in church, but you also need to be active and serve and do other things. It's real easy when you play the drums to be like, okay, I'm serving that way. So I mean, and you are, but it's
yeah.
real easy to be like, that's the way I serve. But I do. It is an amazing experience to be in worship and to be able to help facilitate that because I mean, you know, if the drums do enhance it, and depending on what kind of music you're playing at your church, but it makes it fuller sound, and
Yeah.
it's just neat to be able to, and like I said, my wife sings and she leads worship, so to be able to play the drums and have her singing, it's just a really cool experience.
What does a Sunday morning when you're playing, what does that look like for you at your church?
Going back to what you're saying about the friendships, like some of the people that we in the band, I mean, they're some of our best friends. We're not a big church. I'd say probably average attendance 150 or something like that. It's not tiny, but it's not a big church at all. And just the relationships with them, and like you said, just getting to be there for each other, it's been really cool. But we used to have Wednesday night practices, and it's kind of just schedules have not worked out too well. So we really just get there on Sunday mornings at 9 o'clock or whatever, and practice, and or 9:30. I don't know. I'm tired, like I said, but we practice our songs. We introduce a new song every once in a while, and so we'll just play it during practice just to run through it. But a lot of the songs we have done a bunch of times, so we just run through practice and then it starts. And go to town. And
Nice.
we have electronic drum set, so like it's a love hate relationship. Like I don't like the feel of it as much, but it's a Roland kit. It's not a high end, but it still has the mesh heads. So
Nice.
in our setting, it wouldn't work. It's the small stage, and the regular drums just be really too loud. Acoustic set would be too loud. So, and they're pretty fun to play, and they're easy. The response and the bounce from your stick, the rebound is a little, which it's a little different than an acoustic set because it bounces back a lot quicker, which is you can do faster fills, but it's kind of different feel. But not that
Right.
I need to be doing like crazy fills during church. Or I could make it. Hey, I could make it big on YouTube. I could go viral, and
Yes.
like that guy that did Oceans, and I could just play double bass and just do some crazy stuff. And don't think I'll do that, but it'd be kind
If
of fun.
if there was ever a church drummer that missed the whole point, it was
Yeah,
that guy in that song in
yeah,
that moment.
yeah. It was a little much, but
That's
you
so
know,
funny. Oh my goodness gracious.
but I
Um,
think
I
as
love
young
it.
drummers, that's kind of what the older you get, which going by my covers, I play a lot of fills at church. I don't do near as many. I want to serve the song, but when you first start out, you just kind of want to play as fast as you can, as much as you can, and the older you get, I think it's you kind of realize you need to play for the song
Yeah.
and not overplay it. But like I said, my covers, nobody's gonna say that I don't overplay. I pretty much do a lot of fills in every song because I have fun doing them. But
Right. And that's like that's a place for that. Like because
yeah,
you're exploring your voice on the drums, and then in a church setting, or if you were playing live with a band or something, it's a
yeah,
totally different mindset. It's you're serving the artist, or you're serving the song,
yeah.
and the leader's vision for that for that
And
song.
you don't want to be like the big distraction or anything. So
Right. Yeah. Once in a while, it's so funny. Once in a while, like I'll just have an impulse to do like like a fill, kind of thing, just
yeah.
and I know that it's hit the right mark when the keyboard player and our worship leader like looks over at me and is like,
That's the ultimate compliment, isn't it? As a
yeah,
musician,
it
not
is.
not
It's like,
the not
yes,
the like looking at you like, what are you doing?
yeah. Have you ever been playing a church and had somebody leading go like gosh, quiet?
No, but I could see, maybe that's just because they were too polite or something. But
I definitely have.
well, this past Sunday, like we had a song that starts on the drums. It's like a little doom 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 doom. It's like holy holy holy. It's a classic hymn, but we start out with the drums because there's a version that's like that. And I was
Sweet.
playing it, and the keyboardist started playing, and my drums weren't in sync with her, so I just stopped. But so I'm sitting there like just doing this drum. So people are like, "Why is this guy doing a drum fill for like 30 seconds and then just stopping?" But it is what it is.
I've learned a lot. I think like playing in church, and I've played in church since I was like, I don't know, 14 or 15 years old, so in every church is a different experience, a different person, coordinating that is makes it a different experience. And um but oh no, I just lost my point. It was oh yeah, but like just kind of learning to kind of ebb and flow with not a tempo wise necessarily, but just kind of like learn how to, oh, that went way differently than it went in practice, and just kind of
Yeah.
learning how to cover that and make it sound like it was intentional.
And that's the thing. I've played at bigger churches where they use a click,
Mm,
and it is much easier. I used to hate a click, but I played at a convention, or I don't know what you call it, with a friend, and we had a click, and it actually had the track saying chorus 1 2 3, like all that stuff. It was distracting at first, but then I almost relied on it towards the end because it was like
mm,
I don't even have to remember where this song's going because it's going to tell me. But I've kind of fought with a click. I guess it's saying my timing's not that great, but I think the more I've done it, I've gotten used to it. But at first, I was like, I can't stand it. But our church, we don't use a click, so yes, the music, can move,
yeah,
which is a
same.
good thing. Sometimes the tempo is probably slower or faster than the original song. But yeah, just playing with live musicians is totally different for like singers or whatever. It's used to singing to tracks or whatever, and then they come and play with sing to a live band. It's like it's a totally different experience.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Very different and very different than playing. Even like doing a drum cover, like playing with that track is very different. Yeah, than
Oh,
having three or four folks up on stage with instruments and
yeah,
kind of listen and having to listen, and especially in a worship setting where things can shift,
yeah,
and change a little bit. So yeah, just being sensitive to what's happening and listening to what the other musicians are playing, and um, it's I've found it to be a really wonderful experience. It's a different animal than playing like a live like rock show or
yeah,
in the studio, but it's its own kind of thing. But it's still it's musical expression, and where faith is such a big part of who I am. Like it's cool to I feel like anytime I play, like I feel like I'm giving back um,
yeah,
the abilities that I feel like the Lord's given me. Um, but there's something unique about doing it in church, with other musicians that are doing the same thing. It's kind
yeah.
of a
And doing it as worship, as opposed to at a rock concert. Not saying we're being worshiped, but it's their focus is on us.
right,
At church, our goal is that they're focusing on Christ, and
right.
so that's a different. And when you can just play and kind of worship and not think about it so much, that's probably the best times.
Yeah,
But
I love it when that happens during like rehearsal too. Like, because usually I treat rehearsal as okay, this is my work it out moment, and then I don't have to think about it during the service, and I can just completely lose myself in the moment. And but sometimes it happens in rehearsal, and I'm like, I'm just like, tears rolling down my face, and I'm like, this is gonna be a really good service.
there's just certain songs too that just hit different.
Mm.
I Speak Jesus is one we
Ooh,
started
yeah.
playing, and man, that song is it's powerful.
Well, I
Yeah.
got two more questions for you. One of them is, um, with all of kind of the cymbals and drums that you've worked with and played and even done some modifications to, what have been some of your favorites to play in terms of um,
I'll,
cymbals,
I'll
sizes, brands, drums,
I'll be
etc.
I'm just gonna look behind the camera. Here's where all my snare drums are, so I can have a reference. um I like the free floating pearl snare drums. I've
Okay,
got a bronze one that's a CB 700, which is pearls. Like, I don't know, it's kind of weird history there. I guess they owned it, but it was actually pre-pearl free floaters, the
okay,
CB 700 one, and it's copper. So that one's really cool. It's really kind of rare. Um, I've got a Yamaha brass snare drum's got a really thick shell. It's not bell brass, but it's like, in between that and the regular one. It's a 13x7, which originally you grow up, drums are 14 by 5.5 or whatever. But the more I've played these 13-inch by 7, I love the response they give and just that pop. So that's one of my favorite sizes. Probably then I do like a 14 by 8 and 14 by 6. It's hard to choose. I just
right.
There's advantages to all of them. And I do have several marching snare drums that you can tune them up high and still get a good
Yeah,
sound. But yeah, I don't know. It's hard to choose. It's like saying who's your favorite kid, But not that the drums are going to care what I say, but they all.
yeah.
That's why
There,
if I have like one that I don't really care for, I will sell it. But like, I have so many drums that I really should be able to sell a lot of them. But there's something unique about each one. Like, one's aluminum, one's
right.
free floater, one's from the 70s, and this one has this kind of wood. And there's just so many different things, as you know. So it's I don't have duplicates of anything, but
Gotcha. I love it. And sometimes it's well, I think it's fun to like be like, you know what I really want to hear in this song that I'm gonna play is I really need that deep sound, so you pull out
yeah,
an 8x14. But I'm also a big fan of that 13x7 size.
yeah,
Um, I've got a pork pipe brass in that size. And we just built one for Chris McDonald, and it's man, that size and brass too. It's just like got a very particular punch
yeah.
to it. But
I've
I
got
love that
I've got the
size.
pork pie patina snare drum, 13x7. I have that,
Nice.
and that's one of my favorite drums. I put wood hoops on it, which I was going through a stage where I just like, oh, wood hoops look cool, and which it sounded good either way with whichever hoops were on it. But yeah, that's one of my favorite drums, and it just looks cool too.
Sweet. Yeah. I like that's mine's one of the patina finishes too.
Yep.
And I'm a really big fan of that. And then of course you've got like the birch has a different sound, and it's fun to have those different options.
Yeah.
Um, Loretta accused me of accused me. It sounded like she was being mean. She was like, "I see what you're doing. You're just trying to accumulate more snare drums." And so like she's like, "I'll build them," and I'm like, "Well, let's play them in covers and and stuff." So let me ask you one last question before we wrap up here, Adam. Um, what advice would you give to somebody just starting out on the drums?
Um, I'd say just play along to your favorite music so that doesn't get old just sitting there trying to, because it's discouraging when you sit down. I don't know. I'm sure there's some people that just can play when they sit down, but it wasn't me. So, I mean, you got to work through it. It's not going to come easy. So stick with it and don't get discouraged. And like I said, just play with music that you like to listen to. Keep it fun. When you get more advanced, you can work on the rudiments and work on the more technical stuff to get better. But yeah, and there's so many resources that I didn't have. Like I said, that VHS of David Eagle, that was awesome for me. And that's all I had. I didn't have like, and you could go, buy a video VHS for $30 or something. I just didn't want to spend that money on a video. But just
Right.
there's so many resources online that you can watch to get lessons. And so, but yeah, don't get discouraged and have fun with it.
I love it. Yeah, having fun. I think that's just such a big piece to the puzzle.
Yeah, if
Enjoy
you don't have
it.
fun, it's not going to last. So it has to be
That's
something
good.
you enjoy.
That's super good advice. Hey, everybody, if you haven't already, head over to Adam's channel, AR Drummer. We'll float a link up here. There'll be a link in the description and in the pinned comment. Um, and go subscribe. He's a great drummer. He's a great guy. You'll love what you see on his channel. Adam, thanks for hanging out with me tonight, man. I appreciate it.
It's been awesome talking to you. You're real easy to talk to, so it made it easy for me. So
Oh, good. Well, thank you.
I'm not the most outgoing person. So
Well, I would not have known that from our conversation. So that's good.
yeah, it's been good, man.
Good. Well, thank you. And you guys, thank you again for stopping by, and we will see you next time.